Hey, good morning, everybody. What's up? Just dropped off Elijah at daycare, driving back over to the house, getting ready to start work for the day, and wanted to take time today to do today's YouTube video. And first of all, man, last night Johnny and I had our Fish the Moment advanced jerkbait seminar. It went really good. We're starting to do 2 of these seminars a month, these 3-hour seminars, and Johnny's got one coming up on advanced electronic fishing techniques coming up later this month. So if you're interested in that, just go to fishthemoment.com. You can sign up for all our seminars there. But anyway, today's topic is one that I sort of wanted to start doing every year, and that's a sort of a overview or a recap or some type of a look forward into the upcoming season, sort of and the industry in general in bass fishing. You know, things are changing every year, so I just wanted to sort of give maybe a little wide-ranging viewpoint from my standpoint on how everything's going with that. But you know, there's a couple different ways to look at this. You've got the tournament world of bass fishing, and then you have the recreational world. So I'll try to sort of, you know, address both of that a little bit. Start out with the tournament world a little bit. You know, last year with the virus and everything, we saw a lot of changes, and we're going to still see some ramifications of that moving forward this season. You know, the whole spectator situations, it's going to be a while before that returns to normal. So that on any level, really, on the big tournaments, on the smaller tournaments, whatever. So that's something everybody's going to have to deal with this year. But as far as the industry goes in general, everything is sort of like, you know, settling into place a little bit. You know, the organizations, there's the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a lot of upheaval, and there's been a lot of change, and there's been a lot of uncertainty and recalculation and that type of stuff, and the way that the tournaments are conducted, the formats, the direction that those organizations want to go. And I think everybody is sort of, like I said, getting settled a little bit right now. And you got, you know, you basically got your 3 camps. You got, you know, the Bassmaster, the whole MLF organization, and the new National Fishing League, which is going to start up this year. Seems like a lot of interest in that. I'm sort of curious to see how that goes down. And then the regional and local tournament scenes they're as big and strong as I've ever seen them before. There's a lot of interest in regional and local type events. In my part of the country here, you know, the participation levels are really good. So overall, the interest in competitive tournament fishing is really good right now. You know, I really look forward for it to stay the same in 2021. And really, you know, this surprises me a lot. And the reason it surprises me a lot is the fact that tournament fishing is basically a money pit. And the way I want to say that is there was a period back in the early 2000s where the purses that we had were bigger than ever. That's back when FLW was aligned with Walmart, and there was a lot of non-endemic sponsor money flowing into the sport. That was a period of time where you had a lot of like first place prizes up to $1 million. Some of the tournaments paid $20,000, you know, down to 20th place. And it was set up where you could actually, there were some people that could make a living just off of fishing tournaments. You didn't need much else to go that if you could perform at a high level. It's not like that anymore now. The tournament payouts overall across the board, I don't care which tournaments you're fishing, Bassmaster, MLF, National Fishing League, local, regional type stuff, the tournament payouts are pathetic. Basically what you have is if you don't finish in the top 10, you're not going to come out with any type of a profit or any type of profit to speak of in the tournaments. And in my opinion, if you look at it, if you look at all of the tournament anglers that compete in this country throughout the course of the year, you know, let's just talk about the big tournaments. Just talk about the Elite Series, Bassmaster Opens, the Toyota Series, MLFs, all that type of stuff. You know, the larger events. I'm guessing that probably less than 20% of the entire field actually makes enough money to actually call it profitable by the time you look at your entry fees, your expenses, that type of stuff. And that's not counting your living expenses back at home. If you're a professional tournament fisherman, that to a large extent is your occupation, because we're gone so many days out of the year that you simply can't have a regular job. So the tournaments have to provide a substantial part of the income or the tournament related activities, unless you're independently wealthy and you just don't need it. So from that standpoint, 2021, the state of the sport that we're in right now, the return on the investment in professional fishing it's as bad as it's ever been. And I don't really understand it, because the economy is pretty strong in the terms of the fishing industry. Boat sales are up, tackle sales are up, everything in the industry is up, yet it doesn't equate to the payouts going up. And there's a lot of different reasons we could talk about that. There's a lot of different factors that ride into that. But ultimately, that's a reality of the sport, that there's very few people that are going to earn enough money in the sport to make a living from fishing alone. And therefore, what you have is other alternatives that you have to parlay tournament fishing around, have got to supplement that income. And what that has become is social media, for sure. The sport is making a huge transition right now as far as its impact, but the way that the participants in the sport have to adapt to the realities of the changing world of tournament fishing. Like I said, it's not the same as it was anymore. There's a handful of anglers out there in the sport that basically are hogging up most of the endemic sponsorship dollars. Like a very small percentage. Like I'm guessing that probably 5 to 10% of the professional anglers in this country, they probably consume 75% of the overall marketing budget in a lot of the endemic companies. And you can argue again, is that fair or is that right? I mean, that's up for debate, but that's the reality of the situation. So what happens is you've got 80 or 90% of the tournament fishermen in this country that are basically they're fighting for crumbs, for leftover crumbs in the endemic sponsorship, kitty. So what that makes you have to do is you have to develop other alternative income sources, unless you're independently wealthy, to survive in the sport. And the good thing about it, and the good thing about the reality of bass fishing in 2021, is there's more opportunities to do that than ever before. And those opportunities completely lie around social media. Because when you're talking about the ability to expose and generate impressions for a company, there is nothing that can compare to generating impressions for a company like the social media avenues and the wraps that you have on your truck and boat do. I don't care how good of a tournament angler you are, you could go out there and you could win half the tournaments of the year, and if you don't have a wrap, boat, and truck and a strong social media presence, the impact of those wins are minimal. And if you have somebody out there that has, I don't care who it is, you could take an 18-year-old kid. But Chad, you could take an 18-year-old kid that has never fished a tournament in their life, doesn't even know what tournament fishing is, and you could wrap their boat and truck, and you could get them a big social media, big YouTube following, and they would be more valuable to a company than somebody that won 3 or 4 Bassmasters Classics in a row, as far as the ability to reach the maximum amount of consumers, whether they're a target market or a non-target market. So from that standpoint, everything has changed tremendously as far as what is considered valuable in this sport, and it's going to continue to remain that same. There's no way, the days of tournament fishermen becoming the most valuable assets for a company through their performance is simply over, unless those anglers have taken that ability to perform at a top level and integrated a strong social media presence with that, which is pretty rare to do. There's some guys out there that have done that, like Brandon Polinack has done an unbelievable job with that. Edwin Evers. There's some guys that have really, stepped up the social media presence along with their performance too. But that should be that, and what we're talking about moving forward in 2021, that should be a really encouraging thing to a lot of people that want to get into the sport, because it's simply with the volume of tournaments that we have now, the volume and the number of tournament anglers that we have, it's next to impossible to stand out in tournament fishing. It's really almost impossible. I don't follow the MLFs hardly at all, so I don't even know. And I'm in the sport. I mean, I'm in the ditches. I mean, I'm in the trenches of this sport day in and day out. And there's so many tournaments, like with the MLFs, I don't even know who's doing what. So like I said, the good thing about that is people getting into the sport. They don't have to worry about standing out like we did 30 years ago. Back 30 years ago when I started, there was one circuit. There was the Bassmaster circuit, and there was 150 guys that fished it, and there were 35 guys that took to the Bassmasters Classic, and the entire bass fishing world revolved around those 30 guys that made the Classic every single year. And if you weren't in that group that made the Classic, you were basically invisible. So the great thing about 2021 is there's more opportunities than ever for people to actually do this for a living, because what you have is you can use the tournaments to as sort of a foundation to build around your social media platform, or you don't even have to have the tournaments. You can choose to, just like with Johnny Schultz and Fish the Moment. Johnny doesn't fish tournaments, but he has such an incredible teaching platform and a reach from his teaching platform that the value that he brings to a company can be equated to somebody that wins lots of tournaments every year. So that's a good thing about moving in 2021, and I don't really see that changing much. I don't see that altering a little bit. I think that's just the reality that we're moving forward in. Like I said, as many tournament anglers as we have out there, that's just the way it's going to be. In doing that, when you have a lot of competition out there, that makes the deals, as far as the endemic deals like boat and motor deals, tackle companies, rod and reel, whatever like that, it makes it very difficult to acquire solid partnerships with those companies, simply because there's so many people that fish. A lot of those companies just don't have to do that anymore. And we've seen that a lot within the industry just the last couple of years. We've seen a lot of professional anglers that have had really, really solid deals with companies, particularly boat and motor companies, that have lost those deals simply because those companies just don't have to put that money out there anymore. It's a hard reality, but that is a reality of it. So that's the tournament standpoint of it. From the fishing standpoint of it, the virus that we had last year has increased the fishing pressure on our lakes more than anything I've ever seen in my life. The overall fishing quality that I think we can expect in 2021 is going to be down. And the reason I say that is simply because of the amount of fishing pressure. The lakes, like I said, I fished 100 plus days a year for over 40 years now. And in all that time, I have never seen our lakes receive as much fishing pressure as they're getting right now. And they're getting fishing pressure from the high quality level anglers that know how to catch those fish, that know how to use electronics, and know how to use cutting edge technology. So I think the quality of the fishing that we see overall in 2021 is going to be down a little bit. I don't think it's going to be down a whole lot, but I think it's going to be a little bit tougher just because of that. But the big thing that we're going to see in 2021, and I think the big news that everybody's talked about for the past year, is the whole live scope, the forward-facing sonar deal. The more that I learn about this, and the more that Johnny Schultz has been teaching me about this, because he's been using it a lot, I don't think people realize the impact that this technology is going to have on our sport moving forward. It's already there. It's already having the impact on that. But you know, what you have on this particular thing, it's really altering the way that we fish. It's altering the way that it's altering not only the way that we perceive bass fishing, but it's opening in our eyes to different populations of fish that normally in the past you just theorized about. A lot of these bass that people are catching with the forward-facing technology, they are groups of fish that were previously unknown about or uncatchable. Once in a while, you may have some dude trolling for stripers catch some, but what's happening now is you're having these anglers that are basically they're not spending any time on hard structure. They're not reading topographical maps. They're not using their GPS. They're not studying the lake features of the bottom as far as to set up on points and drop-offs and ditches or underwater cover. What this forward-facing technology has done is so many of these anglers now, they just get out in the middle of the lake and just go. They're not setting up on any type of cover or structure to target fish on. They're simply scanning around in open water looking for these, wolf packs of bass that people didn't even know existed out there. And I've seen it so much in my own fishing. I mean, the last couple months, all the days I've been out on the lake, you don't ever see hardly anyone just fishing anymore. Everybody is like looking down at their electronics, holding the rod most of the time, not even fishing, and just scanning around out in the middle of the creek or out in the middle of the cove. And man, like I said, we've had this conversation before, so I don't really want to go into rehashing it a little bit, but I'll just I'll just say this about the live scope and forward-facing technology. Even though I don't like it, I don't like what it does for the sport. Unless it's banned or unless tournament organizations puts limits on it, it's a reality moving forward in 2021 that you're going to have to adopt to, because there are simply, if you want to compete on any tournament level, you're going to have to adopt this technology. You're going to have it on your boat. You're going to have to use it, or you're simply not going to consistently do that well in tournaments. So that's one of the big, things that we're going to be looking forward to 2021. But overall, like I said, it's the sport is constantly changing. It's never static. It never has been static. We go through periods in the sport where things remain relatively unchanged, and then somebody or something will throw a wrench into the sport and it gets kicked up to a different level. Not necessarily a better level, but it gets kicked to a different level. But what you have is in our industry, in the endemic side of it, particularly the tournament side of it, you have so many different people pulling the sport in different directions. All of these people that make the decision and pull the levers in the tournament organizations, and all the people within the marketing departments of the fishing industry, everybody has a different viewpoint on reality. Everybody has a different viewpoint on what this sport needs to be, should be, the direction it's going on to. So we're constantly getting pulled in different directions. And sometimes those decisions are good, sometimes they're not. But, that's just the way the sport is, and that's going to continue to go. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter at all, because we get out here and we put up with all this stuff. We put up with all the politics around the sport, and we put up with all the little, the changes in the direction that these companies go, and we put up with the minuscule payouts that we fish for in tournaments, and the struggles that we put up for, and the sacrifices and the time away from home, and the stress and the anxiety. We all put up with that because we love it. We love the sport of bass fishing, and so many of the people on this channel, we love the sport of competition, whatever level that is. It doesn't make any difference if you fish nothing but a team circuit, or if you fish on the Elite Series. It doesn't make any difference. That competition and the actual competing in bass tournaments, it creates an element of energy that only competitors can understand. And once you've had that, and once you've had some success, it's very addictive. You want to stay into it. It makes you feel alive. It makes everything just more vivid and bright. So ultimately, like I said, we do this because we love it. We put up with everything that goes on out there because we love the sport. And all of us that are in it, this is like a brotherhood, man. This is like we're different people, and we have disagreements, and we have different viewpoints on life and everything. But ultimately, we're a brotherhood because we love to fish. We love to be outside. We just love to get bit, and we just love to jack those fish. And that's something that people that don't do it, they just can't really understand. So anyway, just a few random thoughts, sort of a rambling analyzation of 2021. We'll see what it brings, but like I said, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to the adventure that is out there to be explored, and we'll see how it goes. Talk to y'all later.